What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I think that if you missed that Duke UConn game, man, you missed a really good game. In my opinion, you missed two good coaches going at it. Now, although I do think that Danny Hurley is a better coach, you know, than Duke's coach. Duke, like Duke coach is a young coach, right? So I do think Hurley is a better coach than him for right now. But man, I can't really now I blame this loss on Duke coach, but I can't really call it a choke job. I'm going to chalk it up to I'm going to chalk it up to like a learning experience, right? And so because had Duke had a pure point guard, and that's my thing. Had Duke had a pure point guard, somebody who was a ball handler and who understood like situations, time management, and stuff like that, like Duke, the game may not hit. UConn may not have even been able to get back in the game, in my opinion, when it came to, um, how UConn was able to get back in it. But the fact that UConn didn't give up and was able to get back in it. I give their players and their coaching staff a lot of credit. Now, one person that don't agree, one person that thinks that this was a choke job was Scat, right, from Scat Attack. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the audio from Scat Attack. Then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna give some more of my input and just let you know what I think or where I disagree with the guy Scat.
Well, in what is fast becoming an annual March tradition, John Shire was left wandering around the sideline looking like he was in need of the Heimlich maneuver following one of the most catastrophic choke jobs in NCAA basketball history. And yes, you have to go all the way back to roughly just 1 year ago to uncover arguably a more egregious pants crapping moment by a team in this tournament, and it was, again, predictably, Shire's Duke Blue Devils. That's when they blew a 14-point lead with 8 minutes to go in the national semifinals against Houston. Last night, it was a 19-point lead in the first half against UConn with a trip to the Final Four on the line.
Now, let me just add this. John Shire and the Duke Blue Devils, they did kind of fall short last year when they had Cooper Flag, right? But the thing is, John, and I'm not even making excuses for him. I just think that John Shire needs to he's got to learn how to coach with these one and done guys. Hurley, his team is a little, number one, he's a better coach than John Shire right now. Number two, he always have like guys with more experience on their team, right? And so they are able to play through adversity more and overcome, just like you saw in this game right here. So that to me is not a choke job. I just think that when you're playing with these one and dones, you can't take anything for granted. Like the Boozer boys are probably, at least one of them is going to be out this, to be gone after this year. So John Shire will be, excuse me, John Shire will be in the same boat next year, right? And so what he has to do is he has to go out and get point guards. Like he need a point guard, somebody, because if you are going to run that play that game out the way they played it out without calling a timeout and setting up a strategy for that situation, then you have to have a seasoned guard who understands that, number one, Duke didn't even have to get the ball over half court, so they would not, it's not like they would have run, they would have lost the ball or turned the ball over on the shot clock, on a time clock violation or a backcourt violation, they wouldn't have done that. And I think a point guard, because the point guards are always aware of the shot clock and how much time they have on the clock. And so it would have just naturally occurred to him that all he had to do was just dribble out the clock and allow this team to foul him. But you got young guys who have never been in this situation with Duke, or at any level, at this level, they've never been in that type of situation. So there was some panic there and some loss of focus. And that's what happens, right? When you have young players, and so that's, according to, well, not according to, but when you think about, like I said, UConn got more seasoned guys, so they stayed down the stretch. They just stayed focused and they stayed composed. Whereas though Duke was coming apart and was losing that composure, and that comes from, even if you're a really good coach, that comes from experience with those guys being in those situations, the kids being in those situations, and learning how to perform in those situations. But let me get back to Scat.
15-point halftime lead, which number one seeds in the history of this tournament had been 134-0 with a 15-point halftime lead going into that game last night. Duke, meanwhile, still clung to a 2-point lead with 10 seconds remaining and had possession of the ball. They didn't even have to get it past the half-court line, but just look beyond that half-court line. If Caden Boozer had just lifted his pass another inch, there were literally just 2 Duke Blue Devils with not a single Husky anywhere in sight beyond half-court. And yet it was Caden Boozer with a catastrophic turnover leading to the Mullins 3-point bomb, which shocked all of college basketball and, of course, stunned the Duke Blue Devils for, yes, a second year in a row. And this really is going to cling to Jon Scheyer like Velcro, as well it should, because he is the common denominator in these back-to-back gag jobs. It's not just that Duke lost, it's how they lost, with the substantial leads that they had and with basically the best teams in the country. Now, yes, you can look at the Michigan-Arizona game that's looming on the other side of the bracket, and it is easy to point out that those two teams look right now like the best two teams in the country, like they are basically playing for the de facto national championship in the semifinals in that regional side. But Duke was nonetheless the odds-on betting favorite to win this thing at the beginning of the tournament just about 2 weeks ago.
Now, that might be true. Maybe Duke was the favorite to win it. But like I said, and if you watch the game, you can see that when you have young players like that, like there's always going to be an emotional swing. There's going to be change of, like the momentum is going to go from team to team. And so no matter, the coach can see through this, but sometimes the players don't react in those pressure situations the way a coach would like them to act, right, and perform in those situations. And it just takes training. Boozer had the ball. He's not used to those type of situations. UConn had no choice but to sell out. Like Scat said, they didn't have anybody behind those two guys who was pressuring Boozer and who was in Boozer's face. So they sold out on that play. And fortunately for UConn, they was able to turn Boozer over, get it down there. And when this guy pulled up for that shot, something just told me, I was like, he gonna hit that, he gonna make that shot. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. He hit the shot, he drained it, and UConn is on to the next. But I don't think, in my opinion, that it was a choke job. I just think it's just so hard to coach these one and done guys and get them to perform like juniors or sophomores, juniors, and seniors at schools like UConn, and so That's what I'm chalking it up to.
They are the #1 overall seed in this tournament for a second year in a row. They have another elite National Player of the Year caliber player, which is going to be a top 3 overall pick in this upcoming NBA draft for yet another year, a second year in a row, and a second year in a row, a heartbreaking and absolutely, again, I repeat, catastrophic choke job for the ages. And again, Jon Scheyer simply has to wear that. Last year, of course, it was Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel, the #1 and 4 overall picks in the NBA draft. And by the way, those two dudes are the best 2 rookies in the entire NBA right now. They're both averaging around 20 points per game. Yeah, had those guys last year, couldn't get it done. And Flagg in that game last year had 27 points against Houston, just like Cameron Boozer, the presumptive maybe 2nd or 3rd overall pick. Who knows exactly where he's going to fall? He could go anywhere between 1 through 3. Yeah, he had 27 last night against UConn. But again, just simply not enough to overcome Jon Scheyer's choking ways. And Duke now, since 2016, has won nothing, not a single damn thing. 0 national championships now in the last decade for maybe the bluest of all blue bloods. And check out the list of some of the players that have gone through that school in the last decade.
Like I said, I'm chalking it up to like you have to learn how to coach these one and dones. And that's what the issue is. You need a pure point guard out there who understands time and situation, and that's what hurt Duke last year, and that's what hurt Duke this year. So is it a choke job? I mean, I agree that all the responsibility do fall on Jon Scheyer, but if just say for example, if the Boozer kid was coming back next year, or if Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel had came back another year, right? Then they would have been they would have gained from that experience, and then Duke may have being able to advance further in the championship, or towards the championship. So that's my thing. To me, it's not a choke job. I think it's just a learning experience, and so hopefully he start bringing in some point guards. So you need a coach on the floor. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I will check you out in the next video. Peace.